Have you seen one of our essentials packages, but you wish you had something just that little bit bigger? Well, this 5-inch beast, ready for a canopy on the back, could be the perfect option for you. I'm Dean Bleasner, the co-founder of Big Dog Builds. We've had well over 650 trucks now through the workshop, and this big black Chevy, ready for a canopy on the back, is the perfect essentials package with a bit of size. That's the 5-inch lift in the rear. I'm gonna waste no more time. Let's go for a walk around this one here, and I'll show you why you should be in something like this. If you've got the canopy on the back, and where's the spare wheel gonna go? Let's go find out. Starting at the front, as we can see, this one, V8 Evil. So this is gonna step up from the NB1 category to the NB2 category. If you're in New South Wales, you do have to go in and get a brown slip along with our engineering paperwork to change it from an NB1 to an NB2 class. And don't forget, if you're interstate and you're looking at getting your vehicle up into Big Dog Builds, we've got transport network Australia-wide, so we can get your vehicle into the workshop, get a big build done like this one here, and you're gonna be able to roll out, ready to travel, ready to put the boat on the back or the caravan on the back and go on these massive adventures around Australia. So don't forget, call us if you're interstate, we can definitely help you get sorted. And if you don't have a vehicle as well and you're chasing a Chevy 2500, a Ram, a Ford, you name it, we can put you in touch with some of the best dealers around Australia to get yourself into a vehicle as well. But spin around to the side here and let's get into this build. It's got the massive 5-inch BDS suspension kit. And as you can see here, it's got the factory front bumper on it for the moment. Gone and done a little bit of a trim to suit the wheel and tyre offset and the size. And being the 5-inch suspension kit, you got full adjustability in the front as well as the rear. The big Fox 2.5 remote reservoir shocks are one of the best in the market. And these ones have dual speed control. So you've got low speed and high speed adjustability. So whether you're going low speed and you're wanting to go up those whoops or up and down the gutters or whatnot, you've got one adjustment. When you're doing those faster applications like corrugations up north or some of the great highways around Australia, you can play around with that other setting as well. A lot of our customers seem to go full soft, they go full firm, they do a little bit of a playing around. A lot of them do hit the sweet spot and they leave it there. And when they're gonna go off to a massive adventure, if they're not on the road full time, for those traveling full time, having the adjustability while you're on the go and changing between beach, bitumen, full corrugations, or if you are wanting to take it that little bit further off-road, having this one here is key. Step down and look at this massive wheel and tyre combination. We've got the Method 605 NVs. So these are a 20 by 10 neg 24 fitment. The more negative the number, the further out from the vehicle, the more positive the number, more further in. So these ones being a negative 24, it's one of the widest offsets that we do on the Chevy 2500 platform. When you go up to that 5-inch suspension kit, you're definitely gonna need the color-coded bushwhacker flares as well. That's gonna cover that tire, and this wheel looks amazing. The tire itself is a 37 13.5 20. Got multiple different applications available for your ride. The Nitto Ridge Grappler, fast becoming one of the most popular through the workshop. These have got great load rating. The wheels themselves have got the great load rating. Every single 8x180, which is a Chevy PCD, that's your bolt pattern around the wheel itself. Every single wheel that we offer here is at least 1651 kilos or more, and that's well enough for both the front or the rear axle load ratings. So when you're looking at wheels and tyres and wanting some of the best in the market, we've got plenty of options to suit your taste, whether you're wanting to stick to 20s, go up to 22s, go down to 18s. We've got multiple different options to fit. And just remember that fitting these wheels and tyres comes down to a lot of things. You can get a big wheel and tyre combination on a small suspension lift, but when you're doing that, you're obviously going to need to do more trimming. So if you've got a wider offset, you're really going to affect the mud flap area on the vehicle itself. And I'll get you to swing around here and I'll show you this new mud flap, which is a kickback setup that we can offer now that's going to be the perfect solution for your big wheel and tyre combination. When it comes to the big wheels and tyres, so if you're going out the wider offset with a big 37-inch tyre like this one here, we put on the bushwhacker flares, but then we also have to do some trimming. So the more trimming is required in this sort of area down here where the original mud flap would have been. And the handy thing with these kickback mud flaps, how they're kicked back further, is even when this big tyre swings in there, it's going to clear the mud flap itself, and it's going to have enough clearance inside the guard itself there to swing. And it's pretty much one of those things. You start somewhere nice and neat. If you've only got a 3-inch lift with a big 37-inch tyre, the more aggressive this chop needs to become. The more aggressive the chop needs to become, you're going to lose little mounting points like that there. So if you're wanting a really nice solid fitment like this one has here, this combination is pretty much perfect. If you're going down to a 3-inch and you're wanting a big wheel and tyre combination, Nothing's impossible with an angle grinder. I've jokingly said that over the years, and trust me, I've pulled it out a lot of times. Some of them have gotten scary and needing welding done and whatnot on the firewall. But for something like this here, getting the bushwhacker flare, the team knows exactly where to do the trimming. And if you find that you're going off-roading a bit further than some others and you are kissing this little bit here, we can always go that little bit further and you're going to get a really good swing in those wheels and tyres, and you're not going to affect the mud flap and that flare itself too much. So this is a small detail. You might think, let's just whack on a set of flares, it's not going to take long at all, but the amount of hours to get this set up nice and neat, so that flare's nice and neat on the vehicle itself, the trimming that's in place, every single vehicle and every single wheel and tyre combination is going to affect how much trimming is required. And most vehicles, let's face it, are going a bigger wheel and tyre combination, so some sort of trimming is necessary. This is why we are the best workshop in Australia to suit these American trucks. We know all the different wheel and tyre combinations, where to do the trimming, what you're going to get away with. And at the end of the day, if you're wanting something big and silly, you're going to have to trim more. When it comes to a 5-inch lifted Chevy on 37s, the most popular electric side step are these Amp Research XLs. The XLs are going to drop down that little bit further than the standard Vision steps that we can offer as well. The Vision steps do fold up that little bit tighter, but the XLs for the bigger lifts are definitely the most popular. And that makes getting in and out of your Chevy 2500 pretty damn simple. It's no higher, it's actually lower than the factory side step on a factory height vehicle. So these ones here are pretty much a must. And this blue plate here is the thing that's going to give you an engineered and legal suspension kit and build. This one here, we've got up to a 5828 kilo GVM. So this one's actually changing from the 4495 NB1 category. We've got another blue plate on the other side, and that's the NB1 to NB2 changeover. And then we've got this one here, which is the 5828 increase. So 5828 increase for the Chevy 2500 means that we've ultimately turned this vehicle into a Chevy 3500. We've added the extra leaf spring in the rear because this one is getting a canopy on the back straight after big dog builds, and it's now got the additional weight carrying capacity to handle that full-time canopy on the rear end. With the rear axle upgrade, 295 kilos over its standard limit. This is one of the best payload vehicles out of all of the HD trucks. There's only a few F350s that I've seen on the road these days that are a little bit higher than this one here, but the Chevy 2500, we know how well they handle the constant weight on the rear end. Once we've done this leaf spring reset, we'll swing around to the back in a second and I'll talk about the airbag setup as well. And with that airbag setup comes this little remote control. If you don't want to pump them up manually, this is the secret to that. I'll put that in my pocket, we'll swing around the other side, show you the long range fuel tank, and then we'll get into the rear end setup, the hitch on the rear, and what this vehicle's going into next, and what the outcome's going to be for this customer once it's fully done. We've got installed a long range fuel tank on this one here, so it's getting the canopy on the rear end, but the fuel tank's going to allow a big heavy touring vehicle like this one here to get that extra distance. With the Chevy 2500 platform, there is a little bit of an issue that we can't reprogram the computer on the Chevys. So when you have that additional 70, 75 litres of fuel storage, you start going on a big adventure with that fuel tank at full. When it's in the full to the extra full level, in that new 75 litres, the gauge will drop down to 0 after driving, and it'll put the fuel light on. It freaks everyone out the first time it happens. So I tell everyone with the Chevy 2500, if you're going to do the long range fuel tank to reset your trip meter, you know you've got fuel in there, keep driving for another hour or so. Once you turn the vehicle off and on again, it's going to be closer to that old full level, and then the vehicle is going to go back up, the distance to empty is going to work, and it's going to show you an accurate level in the fuel gauge. So that does freak a fair few people out. I try to say it on every single phone call that comes through in the early days of a build. I thought I'd talk about in the video today as well, because that is one little issue. We have got a few workarounds for this one here that we're working on the back end. This is going to be something that you're going to be able to run a gauge inside the vehicle itself, and you're going to be able to see an accurate fuel level in a percentage. Won't show you distance to empty, but it'll show you the fuel level in a percentage, and it'll do that the whole way through, even when the gauge goes down to 0. Even when the gauge goes down to 0, you're still going to see what percentage it's actually at. So that's the fuel tank in the Chevy 2500. In my opinion, having that extra distance, going that little bit further is well worth that little issue with the fuel gauge reader. And even the GMSV dealer network can't reprogram it to tell the vehicle that it's got a larger fuel tank than the standard one. As you can see with the rear end of this one here, it is quite tall. It's a 5-inch suspension kit with the 37s, but it is a couple inches taller than standard because we have gone and done that spring work in the rear end. So we've swapped out the factory leaf pack for an upgraded pack that we do here at Big Dog Builds. That one there is going to handle the weight of the canopy really nicely. Once that weight of the canopy goes on, the rear end's going to drop down, so it's going to be nice and level from the front to the rear of the vehicle. With that extra little bit of load on the rear end, once this vehicle is at its touring weight, it's got the canopy on the rear end, it's got the big trailer on the back end, you're going to be able to inflate the airbags. And there's two ways that we can do this on this vehicle. The standard way is with the two Schrader valves at the back here. So you've got one left and one right. Simply plug in whatever compressor you want, whether you got one at home, whether you got a portable Milwaukee, Makita, any of those little compressors. Even a bicycle pump will pump these ones up pretty quickly. But if you do want to go that extra step, then that's when we step up to the Air IQ. Air IQ with the Logic remote control has got one of these ones here. If I had my phone in my pocket, I'd also show you that one. But the phone app and the controller itself look exactly the same. As you can see, this one has 5 PSI in each airbag. When we scroll along the top settings there, you got presets. So you got 7 different presets that you can set 7 different trailers. And you can double tap on that button there and it's going to go to that last saved preset. You can inflate and deflate the airbags just by pushing the dual buttons there. And if you wanted to do each bag individually, you got a left-hand side and a right-hand side one as well. So if I hold my finger down, it's going to dump that extra 5 PSI out of those airbags. Put my finger on, and it's going to inflate those airbags and go up. You don't want to rely on the airbags too much, and this is where it's really important to still do the leaf spring work in a vehicle getting a heavy canopy, because you only ever want to rely on the airbags in the rear end of the vehicle as an extra load assist. That's really important. We see a lot of vehicles running around, they have to run 70, 80 PSI in their airbags constantly without even towing. So you don't want to be doing that. You're going to get lots of porpoising, you're going to get a poor ride. So going to the Logic Air IQ gives you the ability to maintain those airbag pressures while on the road, be able to monitor and see what pressures are in the bags at any time. And if you're new to towing or you tow a few different trailers, having a setup like that one there is going to be well worth the investment, because you're going to be able to adjust on the fly, give it to the passenger, let them up and down the airbags while you're driving, get the feedback from the trailer and the vehicle itself and play around with the airbags. And talking about vehicle feedback from the trailer, the Gen Y hitch combination on the rear here is one of the most popular options we do on the rear end. And if you've got a 300 kilo ball weight, that's when we step up to the 7,000 kilo torsion hitch, which is exactly what this model is here. As you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes on this one here. So you've got 5 different holes that you can adjust your different outputs or your receivers. I always forget, receiver into the vehicle or receiver into the hitch. Always does my head in that one. But we've got that one there. This whole hitch can also be flipped the other way around if you're needing to either drop it down that little bit further or raise it up that little bit taller, depending on the trailer ball height. And for this one here, we've got the little shim kit in there, which is going to make it nice and firm on the rear end. You've also got the Gen Y hitch locking pin as well. That one there is a big investment. They're not the cheapest option out there, but you want to make sure that that stays nice and secure. Be back in 1 second. I'm just going to grab you the accessories that plug into the rear as well. We've got a little goodie bag there, had a couple factory pins in there. As you can see with the factory pins, anyone could just pull that split ring out and literally steal it. We've got the extra locking pin ready to go into the accessory. And then you've got these ones here. So you've got the 50 mil ball, which is that one there. You throw that in, and then you got your 70 mil ball. You can flip that around. You can run this one sideways as well. That's what some of the cool kids do in the States that I've seen. And then this one here is what we call the AT tongue, or the Australian tongue. And what that one means is you've got the whole board out in the center there. We normally run it this way up because the DO45 or the DO35 has the little plastic cover. It's one of the most popular hitches going around on the market from Cruisemaster. If you're running it this way, some of them do catch a little bit just on the front here. So running them upside down isn't going to affect anything. It's still nice and solid. You got your big 32 mil board hole there, and that one's going to suit the DO45 pin. If you've got an older DO35 mil pin, I think it's a 28 mil board, the 28 mil bolt, you can put a little reducing shim in here. Otherwise, you can now buy the DO35 pin with the 32 mil bolt on the bottom. So that one there, 32 mil. The DO35 is going to be for a trailer or a caravan up to 3.5 ton ATM. And if you're upgrading the trailer to a 4.5 ton ATM, that's when it steps up to the DO45. So That one there, or if you're wanting to use this one and keep it nice and slim as well, you could obviously just bolt a 50mm ball or a 70mm ball through that fitting as well, and then you won't have that extra ball hanging down nice and low. That one's down really low. You've got a hitch that drops down a long way. Obviously, one thing to consider while running the ball on this setup here would be how this one would affect if you're going out of a drain culvert or you are flexing the van up. This one here is going to hit the ground pretty quickly. So that's the Gen Y hitch in summary. Got your AT tongue, 50-70mm ball, lockable pins. Get rid of those factory ones, throw them in the bin. That setup there is going to be the best setup between the vehicle and the Caravan. And then you got your airbags in the rear end of the vehicle itself to play around with the pressure in the rear end. And then it comes down to the rest of the ride performance. And that's in the suspension, and then the wheels and tyres make a big difference as well. The factory wheels with the high pressures in the factory tyres, no good. Either step down to an 18-inch wheel, depending on the suspension combination and what style you like, or step up to a 20-inch wheel. Retain the 20-inch wheel and run up a bigger tyre like this 37, 13.5, 20. It's going to be a whole lot better ride than standard in the Chevy 2500. Ready for the canopy on the back. So if you're after an essentials package with a little bit of a difference, the Chevy 2500, brand new off the factory floor with the 5-inch lift, the 37s, the rear end spring work with the big GVM ready for the canopy on the back. This setup here would definitely be on the radar. So if this one's too big and black for you, check this video out here. If you want to see these things boogie up the beach, this season here's one to watch. Trip in a Vans build, that might be a better setup for you. That's this one right here as well.